Hi, good evening to all. Last time we had a look at, overall how we basically plan the SOCs, the security operations centers, what are the teams, and how we basically start building these analyzing, organizing, monitoring, then various typical duties of a SOC member, and what we can do here, and step by step we understood how the SOC basically helps organizations day in day out. Okay. Um, so, are we good? Could you remember what is SOC? Can anybody guide me on that? And it can be a layman's, explanation. Don't worry about that. So, what does SOC does for us on a given day? Any thoughts on that?
Analyze the threats.
Uh-huh.
Like
Security Operations Center.
Uh-huh. So, what is SOC operations? What are SOC operations? You can tell me in layman terms. See, these are the questions which normally asked in the yes,
like detection, prevention, they detect the threats and trying to mitigate the risk. In prevention, they are trying to be more, front feet than the hackers, trying to update all the network and trying to secure, so that way it can prevent any cyber attacks. And if there is an attack, they will try to mitigate those risks right away by tackling those attacks.
Perfect. So that's the most of it. Now let's try to understand from a rules perspective. Now we are looking at generically what SOC does. We've understood the name of the department where we're going to work on. Now let's try to find out what type of rules they are lined up for us, right? So these are kind of career paths. I don't think we are at a juncture where we can understand in depth here, but just to give you a link or start thinking in terms of various roles available here. And I have just given around 6 odd roles here. There are various different names also. They normally keep calling these things a security auditor, cyber security auditor, a security analyst, or just analyst, like the CIA likes to call it. So these analysts can be anything between analyzing an audio inputs, analyzing a typical network, analyzing a typical communication, and so on and so forth. So these are what they call analysts, but actually these are security analysts, or you can also call them cyber security analysts, because we are analyzing threats, we are analyzing vulnerabilities left and right, day in, day out. Yeah, it's a normally 24 hours job if it's a criticality of a business like CIA, NASA, or the police department and all those things. But otherwise, this can be a business hours working job also, like 9 to 5 and all. Depends on your company, depends on the product your company make, how they want the security to be handled at a given city, states, or country level. That's also basically pans out everything. It depend upon how they want these resources 24/7 or 9 to 5 and so on and so forth. Is it a tough job? Well, any job in the world, if it's tough, if you're not started enjoying it. If you enjoy it, every job becomes a really trivial matter of getting things done within the given possible time, and as simple as that. Then there's something called a really challenging job called penetration tester or pen test. Okay, and there are also different what you can say acronym we want to understand on all these three major roles which a typical cybersecurity career gives to you. And all these roles, they pay anything on and above from 90K to 200K. Believe me, there are good companies who are really paying, and they are thriving for the they are looking up for the talents left and right. So please don't stop yourself from venturing into this more and more and trying to understand more things. Whatever I'll tell you is basically from my perspective, my experience. There are quite a lot to understand way and beyond whatever we discuss here as well. So don't limit your thought process with my limitation, and that's what I want to share. And this is I'm not talking about number of roles. These are not talking about overall limitation of these roles available. There could be many roles. Means I've just heard a role called security consultant at IBM, which normally pays you around 180K plus. That's their best start. Security consultant. What they do normally, whoever team member is going on leave, they normally start working there as a consultant. They get paid on hourly basis or yearly basis, depending on upon your contract, depending upon your way of working. Are you an employee or something like that? So there are quite a good amount of work available for a given security tester, pen tester, analyst, and all those things. Even the security tester can be easily categorized: physical, logical, network, software communications, and so on and so forth. So there are way many different nook and corners to these roles rather than whatever I'm going to show you here. And now what I really would love is you start thinking rather than limiting yourself in these positions. And there are many even senior managers or CEO, CTO, they couldn't understand the width and depth of this security, what you can say, testing, auditing, analyzing, and all those things as well. So even just the first three roles can lead up to a good amount of income for you for rest of your life. And this is ever growing field. Nobody is going to stop you from learning new things or kind of getting adapted to the latest tools and technology available there in the market. And as we all know, we keep learning new tools day by day. We keep growing ourselves day by day whenever you join something like cybersecurity. Am I clear, or could you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah. Never say I have learned cybersecurity, or I think I know a great deal of cybersecurity. You can always start with, yes, I've started learning cybersecurity 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I'm learning, but I can help organizations to do security audits, to do security analyzing, to do penetration testing, and so on and so forth. So you can start building your overall introduction. Is like, my name is Swan, so I'm from city, state, zip code, and I'm a kind of forthcoming cybersecurity auditor, analyst, and tester. And I want you to start thinking which role suits you, your personality more. Okay, there are pros and cons, and we'll discuss about the pros and cons. There are pros and cons who are not normally given on paper. That also we'll discuss throughout these sessions, where we'll understand which role fits you. You are the only person to decide that. Don't let anybody guide you. Pros and cons in the scenario, there are 24/7 career. There are career like 9 to 5. So depending upon your thought process, what you're looking for right now, we can choose the career path. Forget about the salary as far as the first 6 months to a year. That's what I would suggest. But again, this is my limitations. This is my thought process. You are open to think like you, your personality, you are artist, you are building your career. So I don't want you to limit in my thought process. Okay. So please even validate what I say. Whatever I have learned is from my experience. I've traveled around 18 different countries and their challenges, and guiding various government organizations on their security planning and all those things. But that's again, it's the way I grew up. It's the way I've known, and this was a kind of the years gone by. Now there are new tools, new build, new thought processes, even to the security. And that's why, if you could understand, there are around 6 or 7 kids in India which are paid by Google in dollars, and their salary is anything above 80K per year. They are employees of Google. One person staying in Indore, if you know, Indore is a really small city, a B class, or I think B minus city to be precise, within India. Well, India have categorized their city into A plus, A minus, B minus, and so on and so forth, depending upon their population more or less, and the infrastructure provided by the government thereon, and so on and so forth. So there's a kid, I forgot his name, I believe. This guy was just offered, this was last month, he was offered a salary of 130K, and he can work from home for Google. He has suggested them a big security flaw, to their connections with I think connection with Gmail with another third-party additions, and that was really great security flaw. It's not like nobody have came across it, but everybody ignored it as a kind of facility given by Google. But this guy have peeped to those vulnerabilities, try to gain access to number of Google accounts, and he have not hacked anything. He just got access and showed build those artifacts, screenshot movies of those accessing various accounts which doesn't belong to him, or he don't have the phone number for OTPs and everything, and he could be able to access such I think 9 odd accounts he presented in his presentation given to the Google, and then that's how Google started paying him for vulnerability testing analyst or penetration testing analyst. I couldn't recall the exact position they are doing, and this is the way new blood is getting into industry. They are bagging the jobs of quite a great salary. 120K in India is like heaven. He's getting almost how much? Like let's say 8K per year in India is like mota mota, like how much? Will come to 5 lakhs per month. Yeah, around 5 lakhs per month. That's really big salary. And think about these lines, okay? So don't limit yourself with my knowledge. That's what I'm trying to tell. And I'm trying to keep my ego totally aside. I have around 28 years plus experience. I have worked in around 18 different countries, and I have basically traveled on mostly business visa, business tickets. I have never gone. Well, I have gone out on my ticket as well, but hardly 2 times in my life. But otherwise, all these tickets were paid by the company who were recruiting me for training, for analyzing, testing their systems, and so on and so forth. So this way, keep basically venturing out new career, new roles as well. And these are just the starting point of it. Anybody have any question for me at this moment?
No, we are good.
Good, right? And I'm just trying to trigger your thought process in terms of various roles and responsibilities available. This is a slide I took it from IBM.com, I believe, or no. Okay, the salary. This means this is from Indeed, I believe. If you desire to move into security auditing, there are a number of titles required, virtually the same background as this role. Okay. Now, yes, there are quite a good amount of overlaps in terms of responsibilities and a need in terms of knowing some tool sets here, and we are trying to analyze those so that I could guide you on whatever knowledge I have, whatever knowledge I have acquired over these trainings, as well as over these different work I did for various government and private organizations, so that you can start thinking about a particular career, which will basically lead you to have a look at cybersecurity from that angle specifically. Could you change it afterwards? Say definitely, because this training is more or less generic to the kind of you start your career in cybersecurity overall as a consultant, auditor, or pen tester, whatever, depends on you. But when you want to concentrate on one path, then you can have a more in-depth learning for a particular tool, for a particular area of expertise within cybersecurity, and that will make your thought process more clear towards your job, towards your interview as well. Okay, so when you apply for these jobs, make sure this description matches you, matches your profile, LinkedIn profile, actual profile, and all those things. And that's what the things we should start doing right away, and what you are qualified to do. Again, the certification in cybersecurity are quite a good amount of battleground. Believe me, even the recruiters, they keep fighting around this certificate is better than others, and so on and so forth. So whenever somebody asks on the certification, yeah, I started working on that, and but yeah, I believe I couldn't concentrate completely because the offer which I got, they say that certification is not at their priority. So I have stopped spending money and efforts on that. So you can say something like this, because there are quite a few challenges in terms of which security certification satisfies all employee needs. No, there's nothing like that in cybersecurity. Good or bad, that I'll leave it to you to analyze. But right now, even if you don't have any certification, you can still be a king of the world. So certification doesn't make much sense in terms of cybersecurity. Well, there could be a recruiter who really likes one certification, And yeah, then you can promise him, yeah, I'll complete it. I've started on it, but due to my other priorities and this job search is really basically this is on my forefront right now. So as soon as I grab the job offer, I promise to complete in next 6 months, 8 months, whatever you can tell him on the face value. And that's why we can basically grab the job and start working. Certification you can keep doing whenever you want, or whatever you want. So, I'll put that certification thing on a back burner as of now. We'll discuss about certification. Don't worry about that. But in cybersecurity, this is a really vast field. So there are so many, nook and corners to it that one certification couldn't suffice all. And that's the weakness which we can use to grab a job offer currently. And that's what I want you to be prepared for. Furthermore, make sure that if you land the positions that will propel your career forward. So more experience you get, the more earning confidence you get throughout your career, and then you might look for a better job, senior job in your track, whatever you've chosen from. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So okay, start preparing. Today is the best day to start, or tomorrow is another best day to start. And if you want, you can join those resume preparation session also, where the DevG and HR team will guide you on how to build best possible resume for a given marketing condition in North American region. Okay, so please join those seminars whenever you can. I know we all are busy in our life, but yes, whenever we decided to do something, decided with complete heart rather than a partial heart, and try to do it completely with the happiness on your face, with a smile on your face, and that will be really succeed in your whatever career path, whatever targets you set for yourself. Okay, so let me go ahead. Let's try to understand. This is the most common role everybody tries to seek to start with. It's called security auditor. And yes, this is kind of an entry-level job also in cybersecurity. Auditors are normally very senior people in other stream, but as we say in a cybersecurity world, quite a few things are basically not decided in a concrete way. So whenever you talk about cybersecurity auditor, most of the recruiters, most of the even employers think cybersecurity is a good stepping point for for an employee or for a fresher to start as well. So if you have, okay, fresher means anything below 3 years experience. Okay, in cybersecurity experience, the first few years of experience does matter a lot, and I believe Guru Schools can help you on that. Please have those questions ready whenever you join those resume preparatory session, and you can have at least those first few years to showcase on your profile, with experience, working at Guru School on let's say audit. We did for quite a few company. We do have arm called cybersecurity auditors within our service provision. If you look at GuruSchools.com, you will have a look at those services. Even I do myself lead such team quite a few times, so you can basically have those kind of experience included. Well, of course, you need to learn on those as well. So whenever you write something, you need to show it in your interview, show it in your answers, and so on and so forth. So we need to work on that as well, and we'll work. Don't worry. But first, start deciding. Start deciding in terms of what will be your stepping stone in terms of cybersecurity career. Okay, let's understand cybersecurity auditors. Security auditors carry a great load of responsibility on their shoulders. Anybody want to disagree? Believe me, if you miss a kind of vulnerability escalation, as an auditor, you keep getting this escalation of vulnerability from various softwares to be starting with. And then you normally check for various audits done by that department where were the vulnerability found. Now, these audits are mostly you go and visit them personally, or you go do their audits online nowadays. Now, how do you do audit? You normally get access to their system via a kind of remote um, non-administrative login, like what they call team viewers, Citrix, and there are diamond dozen such remote viewers available, and you let them do their work or try to understand how they are doing their work. in terms of checking out vulnerabilities, checking out the actual standard procedure. We'll have a look at a video here where we'll try to understand how this auditor works on the ground actually. So what you do, you normally keep auditing whatever standard operating procedures we've given to them in terms of be it a network administrator, be it a network engineer, be it a kind of security guard, be it a kind of surveillance monitor, and so on and so forth. So there are some standard procedures which we build and shared with them as a part of their job responsibility. It is the auditor responsibility to make sure they are doing their work religiously. They are performing those duty, including the others, whatever they have given by the HR religiously, and they normally uh, share any exceptional scenario or any vulnerability during their work, day in day out work, and they'll escalate it to you, and then you can basically validate and escalate it to the manager or the relevant party within your organization. They need to ensure that the company or the government agency is safe from criminal and terrorist behavior. This was added in 2015, 2016, so that we normally follow various federal and state laws to be included in security auditor. So even security auditors, we do compliance in terms of those legal bindings to us as an organization, as a department as well. So as far as network goes, we have network ISO 2700 for infrastructure, what you can say, infrastructure auditing policies. So to change your username, password, not username, to change the password at least once in a 3 months, and that's a kind of lethargic policy. Nowadays, you need to change your password at least once a month. The password should be with a strict adherence to the password policies. So you have minimum 8, maximum 20, or you don't have maximum limit as well quite a few times. You have to use at least one number, one special character, one capital, one small, and all those kind of security measures are normally implemented by cybersecurity expert into these policies and procedures, which as a security auditors I'm shouldered with the responsibility to make sure whatever password he or she have created is in line with that, and for that we can audit that as well. Or there are some automated audit, okay, which basically look out for such weak links, weak password, and try to even guide you on that. Hey, the last password is weak, which is not according to the organized standard. Could you please check it today, change it today, or change it as early as possible? Again, this is depending upon the organizational policies and procedures. Since most of the business agencies keep the lion's share of their records in a digital database. Now, as we know, we have basically had a look at or had an experience of industry working remotely. So we are working from our comforts of our home and trying to do all these challenging tasks like security auditor, security pen tester, and so on and so forth. So here we create various digital assets, these kind of artifacts, documents, or the organizationals, even software developments happening remotely. Now this way, what we are trying to do, we are trying to create a digital database of various contributors working remotely. This must be appropriately protected with firewalls, encryption, security measures, and so on and so forth. The biggest and the worst weak link in the security measures is basically the communication. And that's the first one we're going to understand whenever we complete with the overall understanding of these rules and responsibilities. These database needs to be tested periodically to ensure that they comply with the latest IT standards and practices, including the legal bindings. So you might have worked with digital lockers where you normally keep your documents safe and secure. At least you say they are safe and secure. Okay, but still, what if the company which is basically created these digital lockers start hacking them left and right, or one of their employee might change his hat from a white hat to black hat, as in hacker, right? We say white hat hacker is really ethical hacker, black hat hacker is unethical hackers. So, one person decides he is short on his funds and he tried to generate some funds by looking into other privacy of document and try to sell them to some of the organizations. And there are quite a few such, bad transactions going on throughout our industry nowadays. But still, we want to keep track of this scenario. So what we do, we keep auditing these digital blocker all the times and make sure they are safe at least from the visible vulnerabilities to us. Okay, we'll discuss about these visible vulnerabilities and critical vulnerabilities and all those things in number of slides. But here let's try to understand these are the things which security auditor do in terms of making sure these are the job responsibility getting completed day in day out. The security auditor must design and manage an audit for an organization. Now, for an organizational basis, these auditors, they define an audit, they define a checklist to be audited, they also define a procedure, sequence, or scenarios to be analyzed for a given organization. This is like how to understand HR or how to audit HR in terms of security audit. So what are the HR's responsibility? Making sure all the human assets are well protected, well trained for all these measures, right? So like that, I might have a checklist to check if HR have intimated employee on the exist in case of fire. Like you need to, you can't use lifts, so you need to use the staircase and all those things. Then there are quite a few measures in terms of how to basically perform in case of fire on your floor, because these smokes, they try to occupy the space from top to bottom. So if you lay low on the ground with a wet cloth on your mouth and nose, the smoke won't fill your lungs. And this is a simple thing, right? Quite a few lives can be saved if you guide something like this to these employees. And these type of gatherings or a fire drill normally happens at least once in a quarter in every CMM3 or ISO 2000 and above organization. And where this procedure comes from, these procedures come from security auditors, cyber auditors, or infrastructure auditors, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, all such auditors, you can converge into a security auditor for the time being and try to share this example with the interviewer with full confidence as well. Okay, there's nothing digital as such assets involved, but believe me, the human assets at the topmost priority. Even for a given cyber auditors, human assets at the topmost priority, and this is how we normally plan our priority and scenario, and that's how you can share this example with the interviewer as well. Depending upon the size of your organization, the audit might be rolled out at a departmental level, group level, regional level, or office level, and so on and so forth. So again, the rolling out of audits doesn't matter that much. We are trying to understand the roles and responsibility here. Some companies are small enough where the entire system can be audited at once. This thing also possible. So if you have a company of 15 odd resources, you can do quite a few number of audits at once together. So there can be physical security audit, logical security audit. There could be vulnerability testing audit. There could be HR audit in terms of office security or fire drill and all those things. And you can do it together within a couple of hours and so on and so forth. The determination must be made by the auditor who can assess overall structure of the organization and systems. So this way, auditor is planning to these audits depending upon the threats vulnerability found on a given day or with a previous to the instance, and then we'll basically start auditing these things. Mostly these audits are periodic in nature, in the sense once in a month, once in a quarter, depending upon your organizational keenness to have these audits in place and running periodically. Again, every audit is a kind of spending or a commitment given by a company, given by an organizations for such spending, right? Because auditors spend some time, so your hours are going to be get used, your efforts are going to get used, whoever you are auditing, their efforts are going to get used. So every such audit costs something to the organization. So there's a bit of cost to benefit ratio also to be analyzed here. Okay. Again, there are quite a few senior managers who keep debating about security vulnerabilities, and they believe God can help us in this security up to a great extent. But as an auditor, we have to do what we have to do. And that was the thought process which we might need to inculcate in us. Well, God is there to help you out, but first you need to help yourself. Otherwise, God won't help you out in case of troubles. Okay, so that's how we can basically start planning this audit or start initiating such processes within your organization. And this way, you are increasing your work span throughout the organization as well. Does anybody have any questions on these 2 points?
So
No,
just have
sir.
one question.
Well, please.
Yeah, like nowadays, like we have like a remote, like a US company. Some people are working from back home, from like India. Suppose, say for example, what's like the biggest challenge, or like as a cybersecurity like auditor on that part?
Uh, that's really a great question. And then I'll park this question right now so that you can answer by yourself. See, there's no biggest priority on a general sense here. Why? Because whenever we try to audit something, right, it depends on the criticality of a given juncture at its forefront. So if you auditing something like HR, so rather than a kind of security of digital asset, I'll mostly talk about security of human assets.
Okay.
When you try to audit networks or audit some servers like infrastructure part of the thing, then mostly you go by network security first, then you try to find the physical security, try to audit the physical security, then you go to the logical or software security as well. So this is the way, whatever in front of you, or what is your prominent challenge at that time, that is normally addressed rather than having a generic priority overall throughout the industries. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And whenever we go, like, whenever we basically complete this understanding of roles and responsibility, I'll ask this question to you. And you can clearly understand why and how I said so. Okay. So just hold on your question, park your question for, couple of slides. Yes, madam, please go ahead. Madam, you had some question, right?
No, I don't have any question.
Okay, no problem.
I do have a question.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So for the security auditor in the organization, if there is a small organization, there might be 1 or 2 auditors, and if there is a big organization, there might be more than 2-3 auditors. Now, technically, auditor have to have a certain level of knowledge for all the departments. Am I correct?
That's right.
Now, technically, so even though auditor consider here in the security field as kind of like an entry level job, but they have to have a knowledge of all the departments at minimal level. Plus, does the auditor define their checklists by themselves, or is standard procedures by the company set point? Like, these are the checklists which they have to follow to make sure everything is audited.
It's really great question, and great question for current discussions as well. First part about all these things, do we have a specific, basic criteria to be qualified for the auditors? I'll take this question as that, right? So yes, that's why I said you have to have at least 3 years of experience to start with to join any bandwagon of these security auditors. So yes, that's the basic criteria normally HR look for. Without that, you might not be standing in the doorstep of interview most of the times. Okay, there are some company, far and few, who normally look for the freshers security auditors. But again, as you said, whenever you start auditing something, you have to have the knowledge of that department or knowledge of their workings one way or the other. Okay, but when you think it from an continuously evolving thought process like security, what is security? At the end of the day, security is basically making sure a wrong thing doesn't happen to right people or to the right assets. At the philosophical level, This is what the security is all about. Am I secure about my life in a given point of time? No. Why no? Because I do quite a few things throughout my day. Like I drive car, I walk on the street where there are many other cars, cyclists. Anyone can bang me left and right. So does that mean that I'll stop walking on the road? No, that's a kind of pessimistic way to look at life. So what I do in a given scenario, I try to attain whatever maximum security I can attain and continue the job. And then I keep adding to my security left or right. So like if I'm riding a bicycle, motorcycle, I'll put a helmet on it. Whenever I riding a car, I'll put a seat belt on, and so on and so forth. So whatever we are living in, we try to be more secure day by day, and that's what the most important part of it. Security, the thought process never ends, and that's the basic what I can say instinct of security or human mind in a way. So whenever say I want to completely secure asset A, say you have a wallet. I want to completely secure my wallet for my transit, let's say from North America to India. And I'm just pulling out this example from my hat and trying to understand what I can do. Tell me, what do you think? I am traveling from North America to India, from wherever you are, to let's say you're traveling to Mumbai. And to secure your wallet, what all you can do? I'm just asking you a question as an interviewer. Please tell me.
So there are certain things like a physical security and RFID security. Like, technically physical security, you try to put your wallet in a secure place where it won't be got stolen or it won't be attract someone's eyes on the location to grab
Okay.
it. And the second way is RFID security is put your credit cards and imported cards into RFID protected wallet where someone cannot steal your identity or credit card information through RFID device.
Right. Now, there are so many flaws I can discuss right now. They are oozing out of my head. Let's say Pratik Bhai has a small brother. You can give him any name. And he wants $5. Or, he wants $5 for some coffee at the airport or something. And you pull out your wallet out of this secure place, and there's a guy just sitting besides you or sitting in your vicinity, observe you pulling out your wallet, and then he keep tracks of you and he try to steal the wallet from you. Is it possible?
Possible.
Yeah. Now how do you explore that? Means we can go on and on. What I'm trying to say here, this is an evolving scenario, right? You normally attend to the situation, you normally attend to the practical priority at that given point, rather than keep planning everything in advance. And that's the most, challenging thing about security. Security has to be responded as per the threats along the way. This is by one of the biggest philosopher, frankly speaking. So whenever you try to address security, you need to understand the current threats, current prominent challenges, and that will make my mind at ease. Believe me, if you know psychology, a bit or so, there are many challenges, many people who can't sleep. It's called insomnia. Why they can't sleep? Because they keep thinking, have I locked my door? Have I, switched on my security system? Have I switched on the switched off the TV? Have I, put my mobile on silent, and on and on and on. And they couldn't sleep. And this is, you can call a security phobia also. So there are individuals with these kind of challenges. Could you give them a complete security in a day? No. We need to be with them for at least a sizable amount of time, so that they can start trusting themselves and then trusting you as well, in terms of that the security has been addressed. And this way, this is also kind of part and parcel of the whole job, to create the trust, to build the trust among management so that they believe you're trying to tackle security at the topmost priority. And these beliefs of the other departments other than SOC does matter a lot in a security auditor, security analyst, and all these job roles. It's a kind of inclusion which we have. Could you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the question, if interviewer asks such questions to you, the security priority is defined by the situation most of the time, but nothing stops us on premeditating, deliberating on those priority and build some security measure proactively. Does that make them complete in terms of could you generate trust by telling something? I know your house is secure. Whenever you implement these ADT securities, house burgling system. But yeah, so we do spend some like $200 a year for this ADT security. Even I had on my house when I was staying in St. Louis. So what does they do? They have these motion sensors. They have these, the locks and the alarm at a local police station and blah, blah, blah thing. And that makes you really, secure. But yeah, you have to make yourself trustworthy of this system. If you're not, then you can't sleep at night. And you also try to make sure, like you as a person, try to attain a maturity where the security leaks are part and parcel of life. So in case if somebody steals my wallet, at least I'll land in Mumbai safely, securely. That's how I need to make sure. So does that mean I'll have 2 plane tickets? No. That's not the need. The need is basically to make sure whenever you get a plane ticket, try to catch a photo, send it to a couple of friends so that they'll say, hey, happy journey and all those things. In case you lost your wallet, you can ask some of your friends, could you please send me the jeep, and you can show the jeep to the reception and they can give you physical ticket as well. And this thing happened quite a few times with my colleagues. So I know you can do something like that. Even in case of passport, you have to have a chief, high quality chief, where you can see all those ink marks and hallmarks and blah blah things, which if you produce with these transition authority, they'll give you what you can say, they call it, I forgot the actual name. It's a kind of NOC they give you for the next stage of travels and all those things, so you don't get hold up at an airport or something like that sort. And yes, now we are all adapted to the such scenario of theft, such scenario of vulnerabilities within our life. There are some procedure we keep modifying day in, day out. And this is the way we keep learning step by step. And this is the way we keep maturating our security policies, vulnerability testing, and so on and so forth, so that we can build a better system tomorrow. And it's a progressive, what I can say, progressive or evolutionary thought process. So you can't limit for one scenario and leave other. We have to set up the priorities. We have to understand how to conceal those leaks, how to overcome those leaks step by step. Does that answer your question, sir? Pratik ji, could you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me? Yeah, no problem. And this is again, this is all artistic in nature. You need to create such answers or convey or build the interest in the interviewer, like the cybersecurity through and through, or build a confidence or show your confidence to the interviewer so that he can select you for the given opportunity. And that's what we're going to build. That's what we're going to learn in this resume building seminar as well. Okay, so let me move on to the next slide. Oh, pardon me. Okay, let's continue on cybersecurity auditor. There are a couple of more things. Once the audit has been completed, the auditor needs to be able to interpret the resulting data. So what are the vulnerabilities? What are the process improvements do we need? Is there any pitfall in a process which is really challenging quite a few creating surprising scenarios and so on and so forth? How we could change it? If there's some sort of a even revenue need in terms of getting a new tools, or trying to align security, like trying to procure more motion sensor camera, night vision camera, this camera, that camera. how to basically generate those procurement needs throughout your organization is also kind of part of cybersecurity auditor as well. This is a highly detailed and analytical process that asks the professional to sort through endless reports. Yes, through endless reports and a fine-tooth comb. Yes, it's a continuous evolutionary process. You can't stop saying, okay, now I'm secured enough. Now I'm going to sleep. No. As far as auditor goes, it's a completely continuous job. So day in, day out, you are piled with work. It's a bit of a stress as far as your thought process goes. Stress for so many things to be completed in so little time and those scenarios. If, for instance, security breach is suspected, he or she will need to scrutinize the log, and these logs normally come from various softwares, which we can say continuous vulnerability testing software or access threat softwares and so on and so forth. We're going to understand quite a good amount of such tools by ourselves within next few sessions. So here we normally keep checking these logs day in, day out. Now there are some machine learning based algorithm. If anything happens as an out of ordinary, these logs can be analyzed by some programs and they'll tell you, or they'll basically send you an SMS, WhatsApp message, email, or a beep sound or something like that. Like we found a new vulnerability in gate number 5, because there was a challenge in the hinge of left side, right side, and that way anybody can pass through that gate, and that's kind of big vulnerabilities. So what you'll do, you'll call the respective, gatekeeper or some those fabrication guys and get those repaired as early as possible. Okay, and you might need to coordinate with other departments within your organization also, so that security breach has to be addressed on priority. Pardon me. This again depends on various criticalness of that office physical entity, and then we align with them as well. Where there are SQL databases breach, like a software breach, logical breach, or breached or otherwise compromised, then the problem solution must be assessed and detailed. And there were scenarios like every database normally gets installed with some guest logins. What are these guest logins? Guest login, when you give the login ID as a guest, and you don't have to give a password and you can just log in. These are specifically given in case of if you forget the admin password, then there are ways to retrieve those admin password, and then we'll try to basically gain those access, the core access of a database server. But again, these backdoors can be utilized by the hackers as well, right? So we need to make sure if in case such person get accessed to such what you can say a database or such logical entity, we need to make sure we close all such doors before or after the installation as soon as possible. And like this way, we normally create some standard operating procedures day in, day out. The audit is finally complete once the report is written and presented to the company management team or the SOC leaders. In the presentation, the auditor will demonstrate the system is working well. It will generate the confidence in the SOC team and the management where it can be improved. The report will detail the best practices for IT professional and the other staff members as well. If the report suggests upgrades, yes, normally the software upgrades, we do upgrades. And after the upgrades, we have some standard test cases, penetration test cases to be run, against these softwares. Like whenever you update these database, you need to make sure all these guest logins have been disabled. So we have an automation test runs on that. Okay, and that way we will make sure the vulnerabilities have been addressed after the installation or after the new system release and all those things. Okay, does this cover everything in your life? No. There could be a software where the software developers forgot to close all their vulnerabilities. So in automation testing, you might find such vulnerability. So you need to roll out all those updates also quite a few times. And this is the part of security auditors to intimate or to guide these infrastructure guys to make sure the vulnerabilities are addressed at the priority so that there are no surprises, challenges. For instance, assigning more manpower to bolstering security codes will pay off by assuring the business operation can continue safely without costly interruptions. Like that, in some scenario, you might migrate the biometrics to iris scanners. Why we do that? The iris scanners are almost thrice or four times times of the biometric scanner, the fingerprint scanner. Why do you upgrade that? Because you need that additional security measures at some doorsteps, so that hardly few selected individuals are allowed there. And similarly, you keep improving your security day by day. Let me play a good video called "What Cybersecurity Auditor Do," and then we'll take the questions. We'll try to understand how we can maximize the security for a given scenario, for a given entity. Okay, it's a small video where this person is trying to play a kind of role play, and let's try to understand how we can learn from such scenario. Okay, I'll pause the recording here, or I'll stop the recording here.